Okay, and RAINmaker would not be made possible if it wasn't for the funders. I'm not going to read all of them, but what's important is that we get invited into these 18 cities and 4 counties. They all fund us, and 2 federal agencies and 1 nonprofit and 1 foundation. So thank all of those organizations for making this free to all of you. And then we want to just quickly talk about some virtual etiquette. I know we've been in Zoom land now for 2 years, most of us, and it's just really good to kind of set the stage for this. We ask that you all please remain muted throughout this session. However, we want it to be interactive. So if you have questions, you can either use the chat feature or the raise your hand feature that you can access at the bottom, and then we'll call on you. We also are going to have a breakout session where everybody's going to unmute in those sessions so that you can have discussion. And even though this accelerator is all about helping you make it rain revenue, these sessions are meant to be educational only. So please don't market any of your services to your cohort members. If you do want to sponsor and be able to talk about what it is that you do and offer a deal to fellow cohort members, just contact me or Ani, and we will make sure that we can get you set up with that. Please be on time like you all were today. Kudos to you. We like to get started right at 9 o'clock. And this is a place for learning and inclusivity. So we're here to support you, and we want you to be supportive of each other. Okay, so we're going to pause a minute here because I want to take a glance, and Nate, you can let me know. Do we still have folks who haven't renamed themselves with their cohort number -name, like here, 1-Caroline Cummings? Okay, if you still aren't sure who your cohort lead is, let me go to this slide here really quickly. You should have received an email from Mary Chase last night. Mary is on this call. She can wave for those of you who can see all of the little heads. You can send a direct message to Mary and ask her which cohort number you are assigned to so that you can go back and you can change your name so that we know. Because Nate on the team needs that so that he can efficiently put you into a breakout room. Any questions at all? You guys could post them in the chat for that.
I think the only question I'm seeing, Caroline, is instructions for how to change your name when you're on your mobile device.
Okay, good question. I haven't done that. Does anybody know how to do that?
I just figured it out.
Oh, you just figured it out. Okay, great.
Yeah, go to participants and click on your name, and then it'll come up to say rename.
Great, thanks, Tyler. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Excellent. Okay. All righty. So that we're going to move on from that. Next, all sessions are recorded except the breakout rooms. We won't be recording those breakout rooms, so please feel free to speak freely and confidentially. The other thing is if you're in your cohort and you feel like there might be a competitor or a conflict of interest with someone who's in that group, that's okay. It happens. Please contact Ani, our accelerator director, and she will get you moved into another session. We will also be posting the recordings to our YouTube channel and to our Facebook page. So once we get to the section where Ani's going to talk about that, we'll post the link to the Facebook group. It's a private group. We highly recommend that you join that group because that's where we're also going to be putting homework assignments and links and connections to all of our amazing speakers and cohort facilitators. This is our team here at RAIN. I'm not going to read through each of those. Camilla, you're raising your hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I'm driving and I can't change anything. I don't know who I'm with.
Okay, so Mary,
I'll get you squared away, Camilla. We got you.
I'm almost to the store and then I can do that, but I'm on my way to the store. Thank you.
I'll take care of it. Yep.
Thanks, Nate. Okay, so there is an incredible diverse background here of expertise on this team. Almost every single one of us on this slide here is an entrepreneur. We all have started businesses and sold businesses and or sold businesses or had failures and successes and raised capital. So you've got a really great background of folks to tap into here. And remember, all of our services are free to you. Just quickly want to mention the facilitators again, because I know there were folks who weren't on the call in the beginning. Cohort 1, I'm excited to lead with Zach Denny. Zach is our venture catalyst in Grant County. We've got Laura Ferguson for group 2, who is our Blue Economy Innovation Catalyst on the coast, as well as Jennifer Damiani, who I didn't get her photo on there yet, but she's going to be joining Laura. Rick Hood is cohort 3, and he's our Capital Access Director. He's going to be leading cohort 3. Darren Utt is our Marketing and Communications lead. He's going to be leading group 4. And then Ani and Anna, I love the Ani and Anna team. They're going to be leading our Spanish-speaking cohort number 5. So thank you all for stepping up to lead, as well as the mentors who are joining each cohort. We've got Robert Steck, who's the owner of Ruby Porter. He's going to be joining Zach and I in group 1. Ariel in group 2 will be joining Laura. Rachel with Muse Marketing will be joining Rick in group 3. Gabriel Shields, Gabriel, I hope I say this right, Binu Creative is the mentor joining, and who was in group 4 again? Group 4.
Darren.
Darren, thank you, Ani. How my memory forgets so quickly from one slide to the next. We'll be mentoring with Darren in group 4. And then Lily Salazar with UniWeb Digital will be mentoring with Ani and Anna in group 5. So thank you all mentors for being a part of RAINmaker. And I'm not going to read these speakers, but there's an incredible lineup of speakers who are here, who are all experts to help you in various areas of digital marketing. And when Ani starts, she'll talk to you about what each session entails. But today we're honored to have Ellen Yin, founder of Cubicle to CEO, who has an incredible background and has done really great stuff in the area of increasing her brand and helping others grow their businesses. So here's who you are. We just said who we are. Thank you all for answering the survey questions, because this will give you an idea of who else is on the call and who else is in the cohorts. There was 101 of you, RAINmakers, and 60% of you live in rural communities, which is fantastic because that's really our area of expertise, helping the underrepresented entrepreneur. 64% of you are female, 36% male. You represent 18 counties and 45 cities, where 80% of those cities are rural, which is also really amazing, and 12 industry categories. So I'm not going to read through those, but you can see we have a very diverse group of industry representation. And so I'm sure you'll find others if you're struggling in certain areas, whether you're in technology or food services or e-commerce or health and wellness. I'm sure you'll be able to find someone in the cohort or in the group to compare best practices with. Also, here's your presence around social media. 88% of you have websites, 82% of you are using a Facebook page, which is fantastic. And I say using because it doesn't necessarily mean you're maximizing, right? You're going to learn more about how to maximize. About half of you on Instagram, 37% on LinkedIn, 29% on Google My Business, 12% Twitter, 5% Pinterest, and 5% TikTok. We're going to learn more about using these social tools throughout the 10 weeks we're together. And then only 18% of you are currently sending out a newsletter, which we'll also learn about how to use newsletters for more engagement and increasing your digital presence. So that's me and that's us. I'm now excited to hand it over to our amazing accelerator director, Ani Ross. Thank you so much for being here, and I will forward the slides for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're thrilled to have you all here. If you have any questions, any issues, anything at all, please reach out. I am available to answer all of that. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Ruby Porter Marketing, Solar Whitham, and Binu Creative. They are providing us with amazing prices for the end of this program, and more on that in a little bit. Here is our program. Today we kick it off with Ellen Yin, and then on week 2 we're going to see a handful: pricing for profit, revenue projections, and market sizing, but it's all going to be made easy, so don't worry about it. On week 3, we're going to talk about your customer. We're going to name it. We're going to get to know it a little bit more. On week 4, we're going to be selling on social media. So if you guys have a specific social media you want to learn more, please let me know, because we can tell the speaker to focus on those. On week 5, we're going to understand analytics and advertising platforms. Week 6, we're going to talk about the sales process and on how to create effective conversion funnels. On week 7, we're going to talk about content that converts, and we just had an addition. We're going to have somebody talk about legal aspects of that online content. On week 8, we're going to see ads on Facebook, Instagram, and Google. And again, if there's one that you need to know more about, please let me know. On week 9, we have 2 things. We have a choice that you essentially tell us what you need. And we found somebody that is using augmented reality for marketing. She does it through an app. So if you guys just want to immerse yourself in that topic, we can remove the other topic and just use the entire time for that. And then on week 8, we have graduation. There is no class the week of Thanksgiving and the week prior to that. So we all enjoy the holidays. Very good. So we have a Facebook private group. It is private, so people are not going to be able to see you're there or your activity there or anything like that. We will share on the chat that link so you guys can join us. We're just going to be sharing over there all of the content that we see over here. There will be a certificate of completion. We ask you that you attend at least 8 of the sessions. I know some of you are more advanced, so you will not need this requirement. We do ask you that you interact with the cohort. So whether that is on the Facebook group or that is through other ways, please do that. We're gonna have some tasks or homeworks that you can do. You can choose which ones you prefer to do. It's just going to be 5 out of 7. So every 2 weeks or so. It will be good if you do them as we move forward, but you can do them all at last minute and then you still get your certificate of completion. Please come into the mentor hours when you can. These are going to be scheduled depending on the availability of the speakers. So there's not much I can do about that, but if you have questions that you want to ask the speaker and you cannot connect at that time of their mentor hours, please let me know and I will make sure to ask those questions so you have an answer. But most importantly, show up, have fun, and make it rain. We have actually more than $5,000 worth of prizes to you for graduation. And so the general session agenda is we begin at 9 sharp, so be on time. We do an overview at 9:10. Our speaker is going to show up. It's going to be about 45-minute presentation. We have a Q&A. Then at 10:05, we go on a breakout session. We come back 15 minutes later to talk about next steps, about what next week is going to look like. And then at 10:30, we end. You guys can stay connected if you want to network. You're not required to, though.
And Anna had raised her hand. I don't know if Anna, you want to chime in?
Oh, I was just celebrating.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Great, thanks.
Awesome. And today, I am very thrilled to introduce you to Ellen Yin. She is the founder of Cubicle to CEO. It's an online membership site helping coaches and service providers make their first 10K revenue month. The name reflects her own journey of profitability, bootstrapping her business from a $300 project to 7 figures of revenue in 3 years. Through her online marketing programs and services, Ellen has mentored over 9,000 entrepreneurs, and she has been featured in Forbes, on the Today Show with Hoda and Jenna, in addition to publications like Yahoo Finance, MSN, DataBird, Business Journal, Thrive Global, Her Money, and Blog Her. Ellen is also the host of the award-winning Cubicle to CEO podcast, which is a weekly business show that has been downloaded in over 100 countries worldwide. So with that, I want to give the floor to Ellen, and you guys, if you start getting questions, put them on the chat so that she can answer them. Right now, we're going to ask her some questions first to get that thought process started, and we hope you enjoy this.
Hey everyone, so great to be here with you all today. Ani, thank you for that very kind introduction. I actually already see some familiar names and faces in the chat, so it's great to be among you guys. And we're doing this as an open Q&A forum. I know Ani has some questions prepared, but really this is all about you and meeting you where you're at. So, you know, as we're going through these initial questions, I'd love if you dropped any questions you have about marketing into the chat, or about business and bootstrapping in general, and I'd be happy to answer anything. I'm a total open book. Ani, do you want to take it away?
Oh, yes. So the first question is, what are the 3 key elements to a successful streamlined marketing strategy? I think we missed a line over there.
It's okay. So I love this question because it's super important when you're starting out to not let yourself get overwhelmed by all the things that you could do. And especially if you're a one-person show, especially if you're working with a bootstrap budget, I think less is truly more when it comes to the impact on your revenue and on your bottom line. And so I call myself a marketing minimalist. I always joke, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Marie Kondo. I'm sure you all are by this point, but I always joke that if Marie Kondo was, a marketer, I would be her, because I love to toss out things that don't bring you joy in growing your business. And so I think the 3 important elements that you need in any marketing system are a traffic generator, a leads generator, and a sales generator. And to be crystal clear in identifying what those 3 elements are in your own business when you're starting out. So I'm going to quickly overview what each one of those looks like so that you can kind of start thinking about how you're going to build your marketing machine. So for your traffic generator, this is all of the ways that you are attracting new eyeballs to your content, to your social profiles, to your business, whether you're online or a brick and mortar. It's really important to think about, where are people going to actually find out about you? Complete strangers, people who don't know you. And this is where most entrepreneurs get tripped up in the beginning, is because they're told advice like, you need to show up consistently, you need to be on as many platforms as possible, you need to do XYZ, have an omnipresence. And while I think all of that advice is really well-intentioned, I do think that for over the years of both growing my own business, but also mentoring thousands of other entrepreneurs, I've seen the people that have the maximum momentum are the ones who choose 1 to 2 specific platforms. I would even say you could just go all in on one starting out, and they choose their platform by finding out where their ideal target market or their ideal client customer already hangs out. And they try to find existing traffic sources so that they don't have to spend months and years building up their own audience in order to sell. Another thing that I want to point out here is that I think, especially when it comes to traffic, we're often told, like, okay, if you post consistently, if you create a lot of content on social media and online, that's going to bring a lot of new people to you. I actually think that when you're starting out, it's actually more important to prioritize that consistent connection, that outbound connection with people who already, are congregated together for you by other key accounts or influencers in your niche, than to create new content every single day. And I know there's that famous saying, like, if you build it, they will come. But I think in marketing, that doesn't always apply. And more posts does not equal more money to your business. I actually believe that evergreen content that is always relevant and timely to your dream client or customer, no matter when they find it, and content that strategically moves somebody from unaware to problem aware and then solution aware, that is going to be a better utilization of your time, even if you only post, let's say, once a week. So we can dive deeper into any of these topics in the open Q&A, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of that. So that's your traffic generator, right? How are people going to find you? Then your leads generator is, once you have driven traffic to your website or to your social channels or wherever you are bringing people, how are you actually going to capture their information and take that conversation off of social to an asset that you own? And in most cases, for most businesses, their owned asset is going to be your email list, right? That is your database of your customers and your clients. And I think it's never too early to start building a list. So for your leads generator, my biggest advice is that, again, when you're starting out, simple is better. So you don't need 100 freebies. You don't need a ton of different complicated funnels. You need one simple, streamlined place to send all of your traffic to, no matter where they came from. And you need an easy way, an incentivizing way for someone to want to give you their name and email in exchange for whatever value you can provide them, whether it's a lead magnet, whether it is a discovery call if you're a service-based business, whether it's a coupon, if you're a product shop, you want to give someone an incentivizing reason to exchange that information with you so that you can further nurture them. Which then brings us to the last element of a successful results-focused marketing system, and that is your sales generator. So this is super important. It's super important to understand these three elements alone and then how they work together, because this is actually going to be how you're going to be able to use your own data to find the sales leaks in your business. So if you're not, converting customers or clients, or if you're not hitting your revenue goals, you'll be able to look back at any of these three elements and identify, okay, either I have a traffic problem, like not enough people are seeing my things, I'm not reaching the right audience, right? Or I have a leads problem because I'm not giving people a reason to actually further engage with me so I can nurture them. Or you have a sales problem, and your sales generator is going to be, what is the thing that is actually converting somebody from a lead to a paying customer or client, whether that is an actual person, that could be you, that could be a salesperson on your team, or whether that takes the place of, a sales page, and that sales page is essentially your salesperson that is converting people from lead to sale, or whether it's a webinar that's converting someone from lead to sale. You have to understand what is the actual sales generator that's going to switch someone from just a lead to a client or customer. And the biggest piece of advice I can give when it comes to your sales generator is to be a guide, not a salesperson. So your job, I always say, as in sales, is to recommend the best solution and then help people make the right decision for them. So give them the information that they need to make a confident decision. And when done right, selling should be of service. It should feel like a collaboration, not a coercion. So those are the three elements in a nutshell. And I hope that helps you guys kind of get your gears turning in identifying that in your own business.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. We do have a few questions here related to that. So I'm going to ask you those and then we can move to the other questions.
Yeah.
So here one person is essentially asking how do they figure out which channel is best? Like where are they customers hanging out? Yeah. So where do they show up? How do we find that out?
I think the easiest way to start is just by thinking who has a similar business to you in your space, whether it's a really well-established brand or, a local brand, and thinking about where do their customers already hang out? Because, for example, I'm in the online marketing space, right? So if I were just starting out and I was wanting to know, okay, I'm trying to reach, let's say, coaches and service providers, and those are the people that I want to serve through my programs. So where do coaches and service providers already hang out? What key influencers do they follow? What key brands are they using? So like Slack is something we use in our everyday business, right? So the people who are following Slack on social media, those are probably my target audience. Or the people who are following a big educator in my space, those are probably my target audience. The people who are watching certain types of content, media, whatever, consuming that type of content. Like if you're following entrepreneur, if you're following Forbes, you might be my target audience. And so you want to just really think about your person holistically. What brands do they already use? What kind of media are they consuming? Who are they following? And those are going to be your pockets of communities that have already been built up for you. So you're not having to start from scratch with building your own audience. You can also rely on existing traffic sources of all the right people who have already been congregated for you. I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Thank you. And now the next question is, how do you reach that audience? Like once you know, what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are, we'll talk about this a little bit more in the next question too, but just as a preview, there are essentially three types of traffic, right? There's organic traffic, which is traffic that you own. So that's your own social platforms, the people who follow you, your email list, the people who visit your website. That's your organic traffic. Then there's borrowed traffic, which is kind of more along the lines of what I was just talking about, like the key influencers and the brands that your ideal client or customer already follows. You can tap into that organically by doing outbound engagement with those people, right? By connecting and genuinely engaging with those people on social and by default triggering their curiosity to come over and look at your content and profile. But you can also do collaborations. You can do joint venture partnerships, which again is something that I'll talk about a little bit more in the next moderated question. And then there is paid traffic, which is where you're actually obviously paying an advertising platform like Facebook and Instagram ads or Google ads to tap into an existing traffic source. So, you know, if I was someone who, again, like, let's use that same example from a moment ago. If I was trying to run ads to people who already like, I don't know, Forbes magazine, that is a paid traffic audience that I could tap into. So I think it really just, it depends on which of those three pools of traffic you're borrowing from in terms of the best way to reach them.
Excellent. So I see that we have Marty with his hand raised. So Marty, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sure. It was just really too long and antiquated to ask. So thanks a lot, Ellen. It's really a question I wanted to ask the first entrepreneur I had a chance to ask. So we're all entrepreneurs. We're all starting something. I get this question: what's your level of experience? How do you handle that when you know you're creating something, they get it? I've had this a couple of times, and I don't want to play like the race card or the entrepreneur card, but they get it, and then they hit me with this. All right, so what's your level of experience? How do you handle that?
That's a great question, Marty. Marty, I'm going to assume based on that question that you're getting that you're in a service-based business. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, cool. So that's very common. And the great thing, well, okay, actually, before I answer that, I just want to add something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs forget. And so maybe this will meet you where you're at today. I think sometimes when entrepreneurs leave, you know, their corporate career or their career as an employee, let's say working for someone else to become an entrepreneur, we feel like we are starting from zero, which in many ways we are, but it's almost like we disregard and reject all of our years of experience and knowledge that we've had in our careers. And we act like we are starting from nothing, like we have zero credentials, zero background, right? And that, I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make. And I think it's also fueled by, you know, imposter syndrome and other things like that. But I think it's important to remember that even if you're brand new to business as a business owner, it does not mean you are literally new to whatever it is that you are doing. Now, on the actual, how do I respond to someone who asks, like, what is your experience level?
I mean, like tactfully, because like I want to say, well, duh, you get it. I'm creating this. You totally get it. Duh, that's my experience.
Yeah, no, totally. I think usually when people have that objection, it actually points to a messaging problem 99% of the time, because what they are actually conveying to you is that your communication with them, whether it's like in person, verbally communicating, or your marketing materials, have not adequately convinced them of the value of what you do. Meaning that experience is really not such a big, I mean, obviously if you're like a surgeon, right, your experience matters because you don't want to be like the first patient someone ever operates on. But like, if you're doing a non-life threatening service, I think that experience is not as important as them feeling confident that you are able to deliver a specific outcome for them. So if people are questioning your experience, that to me tells you that the transformation that they're going to get from your service is not clear enough to them. And there's a disconnect between the pricing and the perceived value of what you're giving them in terms of time, money, or energy returned back to them. So I would actually look at it as a messaging problem and ask them something like what if we work together, what would that successful outcome look like for you? And what are you still unsure about? in terms of my ability to deliver on that, because that's really the objection that they're trying to get at, but they're asking it from the perspective of what is your experience level. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I always want to hear from somebody else's perspective. I end up saying something to the effect of, what's the question behind the question you're asking me?
Exactly.
That's where I usually go with it. And it usually comes out to, well, I just want to make sure it's a value-based thing. So what do you do? And I drill it down more. So what you're saying is kind of what I thought. Maybe it is more of a messaging point. So thank you. I appreciate it.
You're super welcome.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So where should starters focus their marketing efforts to grow their business on a bootstrap budget? I know a lot of you have been asking this in different ways. So how do we focus?
Absolutely. So going back to my earlier point about there being 3 different types of traffic sources: organic, borrowed, and paid traffic. If I was starting over, and I did this, when I was beginning my journey as an entrepreneur in early 2018, borrowed audiences is by far the best way to go when you A, don't have your own audience built up yet, and B, maybe you don't have the budget to do paid advertising yet. So in terms of borrowed audiences, this really comes down to a couple key strategies, right? We already talked a little bit about outbound engagement. So finding your existing audiences, like who already is following some key influencers or brands in your niche, and being able to genuinely engage with them on social media. And when I say genuinely engage, I do not mean, please do not cold pitch people. Please do not slide in people's DMs and be like, hey, I'm starting this new business and I thought you might be a good fit, and here's all the information and word vomit on people, because that nobody likes to be on the receiving end of that. So I always say you become interesting. Well, this is not my quote. I don't know who originally said this, but you become interesting by first being interested. And so I think it's really important that when you are doing outbound engagement on social media, especially, that you show up from a place of, how can I make you feel seen? How do I engage in what you're already talking about, what you're already posting about, and show interest in what you are doing first, not coming from a place of, how can I extract value and make this a transactional conversation, right? So outbound engagement is the easiest way for you to literally start today. But then there are the longer term plays of utilizing borrowed audiences, like collaborations and joint venture partnerships. So when I say collaborations, think about, again, what media sources or content might your ideal customer or client already be consuming. Podcasting is such an incredible way to really get brand awareness and recognition for what you're doing out there. And it does not have to mean getting on big podcast shows or even starting your own show. In fact, I think when you're starting out as a business owner, again, I would keep things simple. I would not try to add multiple platforms to your plate. So instead, I would think about, okay, what shows might your consumer be listening to that you could reach out to the host and offer your value and expertise? It doesn't matter if you're offering a service or a product. If there's a benefit to that end listener, that host will likely be interested if you can position that value correctly. And so being able to get on other people's podcasts or blogs or whatever media content your ideal target market might already be consuming. And then lastly, joint venture partnerships. So this is where you and another business find a way to collaborate because you have a shared audience, but complementary services or products. So you're not competitors, right? You are non-competitors, but you serve the same people in different ways. And so you want to think about what is something we can mutually do together to cross promote and get in front of new people, but be able to offer two things that same person could ideally use. So I think your first goal as a business owner is to acquire your first 100 leads or 100 customers through these borrowed traffic strategies. And then once you have that population of those first 100 people, now you can actually much more effectively dip into paid traffic or paid marketing, because you can take, like, for example, Facebook is like one of the biggest advertising platforms, right? If you have an audience, a custom audience of 100 emails, whether those emails are just leads or actual customers, Facebook actually allows you to create a lookalike audience of those first 100 people. So you could, let's say you could say, Facebook, I want you to create a lookalike audience of 1% of the US population that really closely matches the profile of these 100 customers or these 100 leads that I've already acquired organically. And Facebook can now populate a custom audience of, let's say, 2 million people in the US who fit your perfect dream customer. And now you can much more strategically target those people through paid advertising for less cost and more effectiveness. So that is how I would start if I was trying to bootstrap my business again from the ground up.
That is great. So I'm going to throw another question from the audience. And I know you know about this because I saw that you have a program about that. How useful are hashtags in attracting new audience?
Serena, I love this. I have a course called Hashtag Hacks. So you know I love hashtags. I think hashtags are a great passive way to bring new people to your content without a lot of extra effort on your end. If you think about it, hashtags are one of the ways that your content is actually searchable on Instagram. And so if you're able to tap into a community of people who are already following a certain hashtag or utilizing a certain hashtag, you know that you're reaching what I call problem aware people, meaning these are the people who are already aware of the problem that your product or service solves for them. They're already thinking about it. They're already talking about it. They're already interested in it. So you're going to have a much higher chance of acquiring that person as a follower or converting them into a sale because they are already bought into whatever it is that you're doing versus someone who is completely unaware. You first have to sell them on the problem itself, and then you have to sell them on your solution being the best fit to solve that problem. So you're kind of like shortcutting or, skipping ahead 50% if you're reaching people who are already searching a certain topic that you talk about. So I think hashtags are great. The key things to remember is that niche is better. You do not want to use mega hashtags that have tens of millions or hundreds of millions of posts already associated with it, because it will be very difficult for your posts to ever rank or show up in those hashtag feeds. And then also make sure you're putting your hashtags in your caption. That is a new update that Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, confirmed, because that is going to be the easiest way for your content to be ranked in hashtags in 2021 and beyond.
One last question about hashtags is, if you have a private Facebook group and use hashtag, does it work?
If you have a private Facebook group, from my understanding, if you utilize a hashtag, that's actually a topic tag. So it's a way of for Facebook groups to essentially organize information by topic threads. So it's not actually increasing your reach outside of your Facebook group to non-members.
All right. Well, thank you. And don't worry, guys, I am writing down all of the questions you're asking. So we're going to ask them, okay? So here is the next question. What are the common messaging mistakes most startups make that kill conversions with potential customers?
Yeah. I think there's a couple key mistakes here. So the first one is that I see a lot of companies, doesn't matter what business model they're in, doesn't matter whether they're selling a product or service. A lot of businesses really focus in on the features and benefits of their product or service. So they're very vehicle or features driven in their messaging rather than outcomes or transformation driven. And you have to remember from the perspective of a customer that to you, it could be the most exciting thing that, okay, I'm going to use like a really basic example. Let's say you sell vacuum cleaners. I don't know. And maybe you're creating something really innovative here, right? This is the best vacuum cleaner on the market. Everybody needs to know about this. Of course, you're really excited about all of the cool features and you're going to be wanting to drive home, it has this feature and that feature. But you have to dig deeper into the mentality of your customer and understand, For them, the vacuum cleaner is simply a vehicle to a specific outcome. And what is that outcome in their mind? So in their mind, maybe that vacuum cleaner means that when they walk into a clean house at the end of a long work day, it's complete peace of mind. Like that's what they truly desire. What they desire is peace of mind. They don't desire a vacuum cleaner. The vacuum cleaner is just the means to the end, right? So I always tell people, sell the destination, not the vehicle. It's like if you were a travel agent, you would not sell someone on a trip to Hawaii by describing their plane ride and being like, you're going to sit in a seat that's this feet wide and you're going to have, a drink be brought to you halfway through your flight and it's going to be this long and air is going to smell like this, right? You're actually wanting to sell them on Hawaii itself. So look at your messaging and make sure, is this transformation focused? Is it really clear to someone what the result is if they work with me or if they buy my product? Is it very easy to understand where they're having to burn minimum brain calories? And another common mistake people make is they try to be really clever with their marketing because they think if something sounds catchy, or it's again clever, that somehow that's going to make them stand out to their customer. But what's actually more important than being clever is being clear. Clarity will beat cleverness every single time. And so if you have to choose between those two, to be boring and clear or really clever and catchy, but causing people to have to really think about, wait, what does this actually mean? Always choose boring and clear. That is what creates conversions. Another thing that I think brands make when it comes to messaging is not following the power of one, meaning you're not speaking to one specific identity with one specific result that they want with one major pain point. So the more specialized you are in your messaging, actually, the better you will do, not only with attracting your dream person, but also, ironically, with collecting other people who may not actually 100% meet all of the requirements of your dream customer profile. So to give you another really simple example of this, my friend actually was talking about this the other day. So I feel like this is a good example. Let's say you are craving sushi as a customer and you do a quick Google search and one restaurant is called I'm just thinking of a local one here, Sushi Kayo, right? And the other one is called World Taste, and they serve sushi. Both restaurants serve sushi, and they may even serve exactly the same quality of sushi. But the difference is that for you as the customer, you're 90% of the time, if you were just asked a stranger off the street, which one are you going to if you're craving sushi tonight for dinner, they're going to pick Sushi Kayo, right? And even if Sushi Kayo actually serves a bunch of other things, like maybe they also serve a bento boxes and maybe they serve other cuisines, what drew you in was the sushi itself. And then while you're there, they then upsell you on these other complementary food items or beverages. Whereas the World Tastes restaurant, right? They may sell the exact same things as Sushi Kayo, but because they try to appeal too broadly and say, you can come here and try cuisines from all different countries, and here's all the different things that we're offering, even though they think they're capturing more people in their net because they're being wide, they're actually losing customers because their dream customer will not come to them. And then those other people who are not really clear on what they offer are also not going to come to them. So it's really important to specialize your message and think one identity, one big result, one major pain point. And if you're having a hard time figuring out what that big pain point is, you want to think about all of the potential barriers that your customer might have to achieving that result that your product or service provides for them. If you were to line up every single pain point like a long line of dominoes, and you said, okay, what is the first domino you have to knock down the rest? Because once you knock down that first domino, the rest just fall, right? In their mind, what is that top problem where unless they're able to overcome this one barrier, the rest the rest of the problems almost don't even matter because this first problem has to be solved in order for the rest of them to be solved. So you have to think about it from that perspective. What is standing in their way of saying yes to buying your service or buying your product? And think about how your messaging is going to clearly address that primary pain point so that all the other pain points become either easier or completely irrelevant. The last thing I'll say here is that oftentimes as business owners, especially if you're in a service-based industry, we make a lot of assumptions about our customer. And I see this a lot when people create customer profiles or customer avatars, is they make assumptions and they focus really heavy on demographics, like this is their age and where they live and their gender. But what we forget is psychographics are so much more important than demographics. And so getting inside the heads of your dream customers and really understanding the way they think and the way they talk is only achievable through market research and actually getting out there and talking to your potential customers. And even if you and your customer are saying the exact same thing, if you're using different words or vocabulary to express the same sentiment or thought, your messaging could be lost on your potential customer because they're not using the same verbiage as you. So it's really, really important that you do not assume anything and you ask often, because even something as simple as, if I think my audience are entrepreneurs and that's how I address them all the time in my content, but if in their heads they think, no, I'm a freelancer and that's how they identify, that one slight change in wording, even though we're literally talking about the same thing, could be the difference between them saying, yes, I know Ellen is talking to me, versus I'm not really sure, maybe I'll go look at something else. So those are my top tips for avoiding common messaging mistakes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So right now I'm going to start hitting you with questions. And again, keep asking those questions on the site. And here I'm going to do something in Spanish. Si alguno de ustedes tiene alguna pregunta que quieren hacer en español, háganle con gusto. Yo estoy aquí. Ana también. Pueden hacerla a través del chat y nosotros las traducimos y también les daremos la respuesta en español para que tengan esa información disponible, ¿ok? So for those of you, I was just telling them that they can feel free to ask questions in Spanish, and we'll just translate them so that everybody knows what they're asking. All right, so any tips on prioritizing marketing strategies and tools? How can entrepreneurs avoid being overwhelmed by so many options?
So the first thing I'll say here is, no tech platform will create your success, period. You are the creator of your success. So sometimes I think people get really caught up in which platform do I use, thinking that's going to be what determines their business's success. And it really, at the end, the best platform is the one you're going to be able to consistently use and not want to tear your hair out. So whatever that is for you, that is the right one. So I think, when I'm looking at tech, I really think about, just like with marketing, I look at everything through the lens of simplicity, right? So how can I keep as many functionalities under one roof as possible so that I don't have to deal with tech integrations? And then also, what is the user experience like for my customer? What is the most efficient way to get them from point A to point B for them to take action on something? That's what I kind of judge all platforms through. And then as far as what platforms you should start with, I think honestly, when I was starting out, well, and keeping in mind too, that I was a service-based business when I was starting out. So this may look different, obviously, if you're a products-based business, but for me, I actually, as far as marketing went, I just started with the native platforms themselves. I did not need fancy other schedulers or apps or anything like that. Instagram and Facebook, like two of the biggest platforms that most people use for marketing their business, they have such robust tools these days. It's advanced so much in the last 3 years that pretty much anything you need to create to effectively market your business is already found natively on the app. So I would not bog yourself down by trying to learn all these additional apps and tools when really you just need to master your message and reach the right audience. Those are your two main things that you have to accomplish. And I would focus on that rather than focusing on getting drowned, trying to figure out the right tech.
Good. And so when you began, did you already have your podcast when you began your service-based part? And this is my question. Sorry, everybody, I caught.
I love it. Ani, no, I did not. And this is where I think it's so important to critically think anytime you hear from a speaker, whether it's here today, I'm speaking to you, or anyone you hear during your 10 weeks here, or just ongoing education that you get elsewhere too. I think it's always important to take everyone's advice through the perspective of, A, is this person someone who is in the same business model as me? And if not, are there any takeaways that still apply to my type of business? B, did they achieve the outcome that I want to achieve in the way that I want to achieve it? Because that also matters. And so I say this because sometimes people look at what I'm doing today and they go, oh, okay, Ellen's got a podcast and she's got, these funnels and she runs ads and she has an email list and she does this and that and the other. And they think I have to do all of those things in order to have a successful outcome. But you have to remember that this is me almost 5 years into my business. This is not me on day one when I was a solopreneur with no employees and no resources, no budget. So it's important to keep that awareness in your head, because although I love podcasting and I love, it's like probably one of my favorite things in my business, I also understand that it's a long-term marketing strategy, meaning that having my own show is really time intensive, really resources intensive, and it requires you to build up an audience of listeners in order for it to have an impact on your revenue, right? So when you are starting out as an entrepreneur, cash flow is literally oxygen to your business. So you cannot afford to waste time doing strategies that are not bringing in revenue. So I would keep my eye on income producing activities, and podcasting is something great that you can add into your life if you want to, when you have the resources and the time to do it. But it is not something I would start out with, meaning like starting out with your own show. Now, getting on other people's shows, that's a totally different story, because that's one of the best ways to get in front of other people's audiences and bring awareness to your product or service. And the only thing required of you for that is your time pitching people and actually interviewing, right? So no production on your side. So definitely get on other people's podcasts, but save those really content intensive marketing strategies for long-term plays, not short-term results.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So this, if I do questions that sound repetitive, you can just tell me next. Where is your money best spent?
I think your money is best spent on getting in front of other people's audiences. I don't think you need to spend money early on. Like I said, there's so many great ways to use organic and borrowed traffic sources to get your product or service out there. But if you are going to spend money, if you don't already have an existing database of, like I said, some customers or some website traffic that you can either retarget or create lookalike audiences off of, I think jumping into advertising too early can actually be really detrimental for your business. And to give you the simplest analogy for ads, I always say ads are like adding fuel to an already burning fire. It's increasing your reach and increasing your traffic on an offer that's already converting. So if you think about creating a fire, if you have a burning fire, you already have customers coming in, you've proven your offer converts, you just need to get out in front of a bigger audience, then yeah, pouring gasoline on that is going to explode it, right? It's going to get huge. But if you have no converting offer, no customers, no leads, and you're throwing money at ads, it would be the same thing as throwing like gasoline on a pile of sticks. You're just going to get wet sticks. You're not going to have a bigger fire. So if that helps you to think about ads that way, that's the way I would approach paid traffic.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
These are very similar questions as far as spending money and figuring out what platform is best.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, somebody asked if you have ever used the Flick IG hashtag app to figure out your hashtags to use.
I have not personally used that app before, but if you like it, yeah, go for it. I feel like the best thing to do in any marketing strategy is to test. You don't know until you test. You need that data to make better decisions.
Excellent. Is it worth putting energy into Facebook pages for service-based businesses?
Facebook pages, business pages don't have great organic reach. I have never focused on that as a content strategy. That's not to say that it doesn't work, right? Again, different things for different people. But for me, primarily my Facebook business page exists as a way for me to be able to run paid ads. And any audience that I gain from that is just kind of like a byproduct of running ads, but it's not the goal of running ads. So I think that Facebook is really doubling down on groups as a product, like in there, because you have to think about, at the end of the day, you have to think about Facebook, Instagram, or any other social media channel as a business, because they are a business, right? And they make money through keeping people on their apps for longer so that advertisers like me can pay them more money to show my stuff to more people. So whenever you are creating content or choosing where to place your time and focus, you need to think like you're like a Facebook employee or, wherever you're posting, and think, okay, how do I align my content strategy with Facebook's interests? How do I create content that keeps people on their app for longer? Because they're going to want to promote that type of content organically. So if I were you on Facebook, I would focus and double down on Facebook groups, because with Facebook groups too, you can require people to answer membership questions before you accept their join request. So you can actually collect emails. That's like one of the easiest ways to start building your email list, is if you create a really keyword rich Facebook group that people are naturally going to want to join. Ask them for their email before you'll accept their request, and then you can start building your list that way.
I've been taking notes that I will share with you guys later on. I think we can move forward to explaining the breakout activity, and then go in the breakout rooms and come back. I imagine there are going to be a few questions after we do that. Either way, guys, you can keep posting on the chat for questions. I think I read all of them. If I didn't, please raise your hand. And Caroline, if you could please share with us the presentation for the activity, that would be great. And on the chat, I am going to post a link where you can click and see this worksheet on your own.
Ani, do you want me to walk people through this exercise?
Yes, please.
Awesome. Okay, so I created this worksheet for you guys to help you break down big, scary income goals into more focused efforts. And what I'll explain what I mean by this. I use $10,000 as a monthly revenue goal, simply because I feel like a lot of businesses, your first kind of like big income milestone that you're trying to reach is that 6-figure revenue, right? So that's why it's 10,000. You can put whatever number you want in here. Once you know these equations, you can do this math for any income goal ever, whether you're trying to reach $100,000 in a month or whether you're trying to reach your first 1,000 in a month. So for the sake of simplicity, we're just doing 10K today. So the first step is to figure out how many customers you actually need to make $10,000 of revenue in a single month. So to do this, you just simply, it's really simple, $10,000 divided by whatever the price of your main product or service is. So in my example, let's pretend that my signature service is $1,000, right? It's $1,000 a month. So I'm going to do 10,000 divided by 1,000 equals 10 customers. So I know in my head when I'm planning out my marketing plan, okay, we're trying to reach a 10K month. We need 10 customers this month. That's the goal that we're aiming for, right? Now, step 2, this is where you're going to figure out your sales conversion rate. Most people never think about this number, and it's a problem. As business owners, this is a clear metric that you should be looking at all the time. If not on a weekly basis, then at the very least on a monthly basis, because this is going to actually tell you how effective your marketing strategies are. So to do this, you're going to want to take the number of paying customers you got in the last 30 days, or paying clients if you're a service-based business, divided by the number of leads that you got in the last 30 days. So if you're a service-based business owner, when I was starting out as a social media manager, my leads were people who filled out my application form to book a discovery call with me, right? For you as a product-based business owner, your leads could be people who are opting into your list, or if you, this is a little bit more advanced, but if you were also looking at the conversion rate from the number of page views you got on a certain web page to the number of leads that you got from that web page. But for simplicity, let's just say for this example that in my business, I got four customers in the last 30 days, and I had 10 leads. So 10 people gave me their information and inquired about my services. So if I do 4 divided by 10, that is 0.4. That is my decimal conversion rate. If you multiply by 100, that's a 40% conversion rate. If you're under 50% as a service-based business owner, I definitely think there's a lot of room to grow there. It usually has something, again, to do with your messaging and there being a disconnect between the value of the service that you're offering and your actual messaging. If you're a product-based business, I don't have the exact metrics that you should be aiming for, but just know that whatever you have today, that's great. You can always improve from here. Okay, so 0.4 is what we got in that second answer, right? So step 3 is to figure out, based on your conversion rate, what is your monthly leads target? How many leads do you actually need in a month to get the number of customers that you're aiming for based on your current sales conversion rate? So what you do is you just plug in your answer from step 1 and you divide it by your answer from step 2. So in my example scenario, that would be 10 clients divided by 0.4, that decimal conversion rate. And that would equal 25 for me. So now I have it really clear in my head going into my planning for the quarter or the planning for the month. If we want to reach a 10K month, we need 25 leads in order to get 10 customers. It's just simple math. It's I call it money making math. And if you want less leads, you have to up your conversion rate. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Tracking these numbers in your business is extremely important because you want to know, again, what is actually working for you? What is actually increasing your sales rate, sales conversion rate? How many leads are you actually getting a month? If you're not getting the customers that you need to hit your revenue goals, you need to go back and look at, is this a leads problem? Am I not getting enough leads? Or is this a sales problem where we are getting the leads that we need? Like, let's say I did get 25 leads, but I still didn't get 10 customers at the end of the month. Now I know I have a sales conversion problem, not a leads problem. And so this is why data is super important. Everybody follow? Yes, Laura, gross revenue. Yes. Yeah, just keep it simple for yourself. Taxes and all that other stuff. Yeah, that comes in after. Cool. Any questions on this before?
Awesome. So what is sell the and not the? Or are you going to tell us that later?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
So on here it says, what are the 3 elements of a results-focused marketing system? And that is the traffic generator, leads generator, and sales generator. But then what goes in the bottom?
Oh, yeah. I said this very briefly. So you probably didn't catch it. Sell the destination, not the vehicle. And that's just a reminder to keep top of mind for your messaging. Always sell the transformation and the result. Don't get bogged down in trying to sell all the features of whatever it is that you're selling.
Awesome. All right. So I think we can all go into the breakout rooms. Don't worry, you don't need to do anything. Nate is going to do that for all of us. Window is going to show up. Just click on join and I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Fun. We got through 2 of those. That was exciting.
Nailed it.
Great. Is Ani back out yet? And Ellen?
Yes, I am. I was the first one because I needed to tell Nate, let's go back, and I couldn't message him outside of the breakout room. So I took off for a bit.
Gotcha. And we're using Slack for that, by the way.
Okay.
Slack. Okay. Is that worksheet displayed? Yes, it's actually on the Facebook page. Right? We put a link to it. Looks like Felice, do you have
It is. I'm still gonna send you everybody an email with this information. And when we have, I know some of you don't use Facebook. So when we have the recording that we'll upload to YouTube, then you guys will have access to it, even if you are not on Facebook. Ellen, I don't know if you have time for one more question. I thought it was very interesting. So if you offer multiple services, is it effective to advertise to one service in a post, then a different service in another post? Or should all of your posts be a collection of all of the services that you offer all of the time? You're muted.
Sorry, thanks. That really depends on, I think, what services are being offered. But I would say in general, so this may or may not apply to your business, but in general, I have found that people have a much easier time scaling one signature service than trying to spread across multiple services. It's kind of like that sushi example I gave earlier. If you walk into a sushi restaurant knowing you want sushi, it is much easier when you're already sitting down and eating for your waiter to then upsell you on all these other complementary services that you know, would benefit you and give you an even more enjoyable dining experience than it would be if they tried to market you on all of those things to get you into the restaurant in the first place. So I think that if you have one particular service that's your biggest moneymaker, the highest profit margin, and the one that if I said, hey, if I brought 100 people to your door tomorrow that are ready to sign with you for a service, which one would you be most excited to work with someone on? If you have that top of mind for you, I would try to scale that signature service and build a value ladder with a upsell and a downsell that makes sense so that you can ascend someone through your service offerings in a way that makes sense for them no matter where they enter your business from, if that makes sense.
What about somebody working in construction? You know, because they can do roofing, they can do painting, they can do siding, they can do flooring. What can they do in that case?
Honestly, I still think that the idea of being really, really good, like the best at one specific thing, even if you offer other things, is still going to grow your brand awareness so much greater. Like if you are the best go-to, nobody else does roofing like you do in your area, the amount of referrals you'll get as the go-to roofer in your area is going to just blow your competition out of the water. And then once they're a customer of yours for that, and you know, they get put into your ecosystem, now you're like, hey, I also noticed that maybe your siding needs some fixing. Like, would you like a quote for that? Or would you like this, that, or the other? And it's not to say don't ever mention your other services anywhere ever, but I'm just saying, like, if you were to focus your attention on one particular service, what would that be? That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, and I actually shared this in my group because my husband has a tree service contracting firm, and some sales are $300, some are $3,000, some are $30,000, but the average sale when you run it in QuickBooks is $2,500. So we use that number. And then we also look and see, well, we know that the tree removals has a much larger margin than the pruning. So he does more marketing around that. And it's actually a really good segue over to next week's session, which everything that the groundwork that Ellen just laid in that amazing worksheet, we're going to be moving into this session. So Ani, did you want to wrap things up and we can all give a big shout out to Ellen and a big thank you after you talk about next session?
Sure. So next session, we're going to have Raj talk about pricing for profit. Very important subject. And our very own Caroline is going to be teaching about revenue projections and market sizing. So this worksheet, actually, even if you didn't know Ellen, really sets the mood for what we're going to see next week. If you didn't get a chance to work on your sheet on the breakout session, work on it outside of it, and feel free to email it to me to ask questions or anything that you need. This is going to be good because you have a goal that you can measure, and hopefully you reach this goal as we advance into this program. Please connect at 9. There is no specific homework for this week. We will have mentor hours next week. You should have received a calendar invite with Rash. And I think that with that, Ellen, I don't know if you have anything else to say. Thank you so much to everybody that connected, and you can stay here if you want to network a bit. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. You guys are so amazing. I loved all your quality questions. Thank you for being so engaged. I did drop a few links that you guys can use as resources if you want. I'm an open book, so feel free to add me on LinkedIn or say hi on Instagram. And then I do also have 2 free resources. You can join my free Facebook group if you just search Cubicle to CEO Community. We'd love to have you. I do trainings in there. And then also my podcast, Cubicle to CEO Podcast. If any of your listeners, we stream on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your shows. And we release new episodes every week with really inspiring business leaders who share some awesome takeaways that you can apply to your business.
Thank you, Ellen. And we'll make sure that Ani includes all those links in the follow-up email, as well as post them to the Facebook page that we have. So really important. I saw that it grew from like 13 people to our Facebook page now has 57. So you guys are joining, which is awesome. But let's, before we all hop off, I think we're also going to stay on for those who want to. I do have to run. But one thing we've done in the past that's really fun is if everybody could unmute and just give a big shout out and thank you to Ellen, that would be really awesome. So on 3, everybody unmute. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. Great job.
Great job, Ellen.
Can I take a quick little story for my Instagram? Is that cool, you guys?
Please
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's do it. Hold on. Let me pull this up. I'm going to try to, okay, on 3 wave, and there's 4 pages of you guys. So I'm going to like click through and try to get all your faces in. Okay. So keep waving. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Ellen. Thank you, Ellen.
You rock,
You guys are awesome.
Rockstar.
So much. I will, I'll post that on my story. So
Great.
let me know if you
Thank
see this.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks, Ellen.
Bye.
Bye, Ellen. Thank you. And team, I know you guys are hanging on. If folks have questions, I have to run to another meeting I'm already late for, but I look forward to seeing you guys all next week. Great job, everybody.